Excuse me. Good afternoon, class. So today we will be looking at our market structure case study question 2. All right, so let us start with our extract analysis. So if there's any question with the extract, I'm trying my best to go through them so that in class we can cut down on this time going through the extract. And also it helps you in terms of helping you get started with answering some of these questions. All right, so let's look at our first data that we have, and that is table 1. So table 1, what we have here is average daily ridership in terms of 1,000 passenger trips. So you can see how across the years of 2010 to 2014, how bus ridership, how taxi ridership has actually changed. All right, and one thing is very clear here. If you look at the numbers for bus ridership, average daily bus ridership, you can see that the numbers have been on the rise. Likewise for taxi. Okay, both numbers have been rising. All right, so that's something that we want to bear in mind as we analyze our subsequent extracts. Okay, we have table 2 here, and table 2 here is a special table here showing us the estimates of the elasticity of demand for public transport in Singapore. Okay, so first we have the elasticity of demand for public transport ridership with respect to your public transport fare during the peak period. So you can see PED value here, right, is between negative 0.15 to negative 1.3. So down here you can see that PED here is actually less than 1. All right, which suggests that demand here is which suggests that demand here is price inelastic. Okay, that's during the peak period. And then off peak, you can see that it's slightly higher, but it's still PED less than 1. Demand is still price inelastic. Okay. And down here, what we have private automobile travel with respect to public transport fare. So what we have here is actually XED. All right, and XED here is less than 1 as well. 0.03 to 0.1. So what does this tell you about the relationship between private automobile travel and your public transport? Something for you to think about. All right, make sense of this information. Okay, extract 1 tells us a bit more about the taxi industry in Singapore. So what we have, okay, we know that in the past, before your Uber and Grab, which you are very familiar with today, all right, the Singapore's taxi industry used to be dominated by established taxi companies such as ComfortDelGro, the blue color taxi, ComfortDelGro. So in running this taxi company, there was actually huge costs incurred and involved in order to acquire and build up your taxi fleet. Additionally, you also require your own service centers so that your drivers can be better matched with passenger. So this tells us how the taxi industry was back then. All right, and how is it now? All right, this was in 2015, and then when you say over the past 2 years, they're referring 2013 to 2015. So this new company, Grab Taxi and Uber, so how they have actually changed the landscape of your taxi booking. All right, in the past, you had to stand at the road and flag your taxi. But these days, all you have to do, grab your mobile, okay, I should not use the word grab. All you have to do is just take out your mobile phone, and then you just state where you are going, and then they'll try to match you with your nearby drivers. All right, and whether is it a driver or a private hire car, a private hire vehicle, PHV, right, they can get you to your destination in a short amount of time. So in the past, you needed to have your own service center so that you can have your call center, okay, and then people call in to say, okay, I need a taxi to go from where to where. But these days, you don't even need that because your mobile phone, your algorithm, right? No hardware infrastructure cost involved at all. So this makes things very different. All right, and this is something like what we call a barrier to entry towards the taxi industry lah. So in the past, barriers to entry were high because there was huge startup costs. You want to come in, you need to first make sure that you have enough enough car and taxis lah. All right, your car, your taxi. You need to build up your own fleet, and then you need to rent out to your drivers. You also needed your service center. But these days, you look at Grab, Taxi, and Uber, they don't need to have their own vehicle. All right, what they do is they do the matchmaking kind of service with their software, the algorithm that they have, the app that they have. So it helps you match your driver to your passenger. So this is something that has changed quite tremendously. And the term disruptive technology should come to mind when we talk about this. All right, because technology here has disrupted how the industry has been. It has changed everything. All right, and with the recent merger of Grab, I think that's becoming more and more of something that you should also look out for. All right, this Grab and Uber merger. Okay, next we look at extract 2. We have taxi surcharges. All right, sharing if this extract shares with us a bit more about the various taxi surcharge. So it gives us a bit more about the background of your taxi industry. So there was a deregulation of your taxi industry. Deregulation here, you should think of more firms coming in. All right, the barriers to entry have been relaxed in a way. So there has been 6 companies, with ComfortDelGro being the biggest, with over 50% market share. This was back then. All right, and then gives us this passage here gives us a bit more about how your taxi rides are structured, the pricing, okay, the difference in pricing during peak as well as the midnight period. All right, there's this use of this thing known as a surcharge. Right, and this paragraph here tells us a bit more about how this surcharge here helps to regulate the supply and demand. All right, of your taxi rides. Okay, and Singapore is not unique because other cities such as New York, London, and Perth, they also use this to regulate supply and demand. Okay, this bus contracting model from extract 3. All right, this bus contracting model is something that we are experiencing right now. All right, it was something that started in 2016 with only certain routes. Okay, I think in the past you see buses that were either red and not yellow, black. Okay, but today you see buses are painted green. All right, and that is because LTA has come in. All right, and they have taken over control of your bus infrastructure. Okay, and before these buses that used to belong to the various companies like SBS or your back then it's called tips all right, and then today they your SMRT. Okay, and then today right now what happens is these buses are all painted green, and then there's this introduction of this thing known as the bus contracting model. So Singapore what LTA has done is that they have broken the various routes. They have broken down Singapore into various routes, various bus routes. So like for example Ang-Mo-Kio. So Ang-Mo-Kio, this route will be put up for tender, and bus operators have to bid lah. So operators are then paid to operate these bus routes, while government takes the revenue risk because right now all your bus infrastructure, such as airports, operating assets, all this before this in order to come in and be in the bus industry, you need to pay for your bus depot, your bus interchange. You need to buy your buses, you need to have some fleet management system. But right now, again, your barriers to entry here has been slightly reduced because you don't have to own all this because right now all these are owned by LTA. Your operators, what you have to do is just to operate the bus route. That means you have your drivers, you deploy your drivers accordingly to run these routes. All right, so the idea and the intent of this is really to inject more competition into the industry as well as to improve service levels. All right, and like what we say at the end of the day, improve efficiency lah. This helps government to respond faster to changes in travel demand and also your service level expectation. All right, I have a video later which I'll share with you to tell you more about this new model of bus contracting. All right, and here is the video, and you can see how this bus contracting model is done.
Well, it's finally happening. Big changes are coming to the public bus industry. The public bus industry will restructure to a government contracting model.
What is that?
Just like the term contracting suggests, it simply means the government will put up bus routes for interested parties to bid for the right to operate those bus services. And the government will pay the successful bidder a fee to operate and maintain those bus services.
Isn't this the case now?
Nah, it's far from it. Today bus operators buy and own the buses, run the routes and keep the fare revenue. The government contracting model changes all that. Operators will simply receive a fee to operate and maintain the bus services. And the government will own and provide the buses, interchanges and depots to the operators. And of course, it will keep the money from the fares.
Oh, why must we do this? Aren't we doing fine with the current model? Although, yeah, I will be much happier if the buses can come more regularly and promptly.
You got it. That's what we want to do. With bus contracting, the government can react fast to improve bus services. Also, as potential operators do not have to buy the buses, more operators will be able to come into the market more easily, which will lead to more competition and better services.
But why do we want more operators? How would more operators enhance service?
Let me give you an example. It's like wooing a girl. When you know their rivals, you'll work harder to win her over. Similarly, with more bus operators competing, they'll need to provide better services in order to keep the job.
I see. But what kind of better service will we see?
With bus contracting, 45% of bus services are expected to have shorter waiting time during peak periods. This means all buses will arrive within 15 minutes during morning and evening peak hours, and feeder buses will arrive around 6 to 8 minutes during peak periods.
Sounds great. But can it really work?
Bus contracting isn't new to Singapore. We've tested it already with City Direct and peak period short services. Other cities like London and Perth have done it successfully too. To minimise inconvenience to commuters, bus contracting will be implemented in phases over several years. About 20% of buses will be put up for bidding between now and 2015. The first package of 26 bus services is already up for bidding. Come 2016, we can look forward to better bus services and a better journey for all.
So as I have mentioned, all right, this bus contracting model is really meant to help to promote greater competition. So you've seen in the video, they talk about, they use the example of wooing a girl. All right, with more operators, more competition, all right, you up your game, as you guys call it. All right, and what is happening in this sentence is like what the video has shared. All right, this implementation will spread across various phases, and these contracts are put up. So let me show you an example. So let's say Ang Mo Kio. So what will happen here is like LTA will say, okay, Ang Mo Kio is up for bid. So those who are interested in bidding for this route, they will then submit their bid, and this bid has to be competitive because the most competitive one is likely to win this particular route. And then these short contracts are given out to you, and you will definitely, when you are given a contract, you want to put in your best so that hopefully, all right, when this contract expires, maybe two years or 3 years down the road, when it is supposed to be retendered, all right, maybe LTA could see that, oh, you have been performing very well. Okay, let me renew it with you, rather than putting it up for tender again. So all this really helps to make this bus industry more competitive, because right now no one can be complacent. Remember your cross inefficiency. So this is something that we hope to achieve with this bus contracting model. All right, so that this can help to promote greater competition and efficiency among your operators. All right, so this is something, probably something new for all of you because you probably would not have heard of it. And if you have heard of it, I think this is just something further for you to just understand. So with that, I will jump to your question. All right, the higher order question. So this question here, 8-mark question, all right, asking you whether, all right, the surcharge of 25% for peak period and 50% during the midnight period, whether are they examples of price discrimination? All right, so you need to explain whether. So whether here suggests that, you need to go for thesis, antithesis. Okay, so thesis here, yes, no. Yes, it is price discrimination, or no, it is not price discrimination. All right. So you need to understand better what is the whole meaning of price discrimination. So I want to refer you to your page for conditions for price discrimination, for successful price discrimination. Ask yourself whether this actually satisfies the necessary condition for price discrimination. So what exactly is price discrimination? Price discrimination is the ability to charge a different price for the same good. All right, and this is not due to differences in your cost of production. All right, so ask yourself whether this surcharge here, is it a form of price discrimination, and whether is it not, or whether is it not. All right, and then after you have done that, you want to talk about whether this is desirable or not. So there's two parts. So answer these two parts. So like I mentioned, it is an example. So that's your thesis. It is not an example. Talk about desirability. When you talk about desirability, I think you need to be mindful of the welfare. Whose welfare are we going to be mindful of? Mindful of consumers' welfare, definitely. But don't just look at consumer, you want to look at your producer as well. All right, so that is the question analysis for this question. All right, I think that's question E. I think there was something wrong with the labeling. So now let's look at question F. So question F here, assess impact of introducing competitive bus contracting on consumer, producer, and society. So you have your various stakeholders here. All right, so we want you to assess the impact. So impact here can be either positive, it could also be negative impact. All right, what happens if there's bus contracting? So how will it affect your consumer? How will it affect your producer as well as your society? So I think we have been going through this many times before. Consumer, what are they concerned about? They're concerned about price, quality, choice, consumer welfare. All right. Producer, what are they concerned about? EOS, ability to make EOS profits, market share. Society, of course, you're concerned about efficiency, the various efficiency as well as equity. So you want to analyze these various areas and see whether is there positive, whether is there negative. Sorry, in this case here for the thesis, positive impact. All right, in your antithesis, you want to look at it from the negative effect on this various area. And then you do an evaluation to see whether is it necessarily a good thing or a bad thing for this competitive bus contracting. All right, so this is quite a straightforward case study. So I hope you should have no problem addressing the questions here. If you have, feel free to ask the relief teacher who's going to take the class, all right, during the tutorial.